Shivani Gharat and I welcome you all to CNBC TV18.com presents Scaling Customer Experience in Media and Entertainment with Real-Time Solutions in association with AWS and Redis. Today's consumers have many options with regard to media and entertainment. Innovative solutions allow media companies to deliver immersive, differentiated and deeply engaging real-time experiences with no latency. And this brings us to our main conversation on real-time customer experience at scale with AWS and Redis Enterprise. So how can the media and entertainment sector leverage the Redis solution on AWS cloud to reduce latency and deliver ultra-fast performance? To discuss this, we have Manish Verma, Head Technology, Sony Pictures, Brijneet Bhasin, VP Technology and Platform Products, OTT and Digital Ventures at Viacom18, Lokesh Chauhan, CTO, Eros, Abhishek Agarwal, Chief Product Officer, Gameshin, Dishank Nagpal, Strategic Account Manager, Redis, along with Jitender Singh, Senior Solutions Architect at Redis. Then we have Sharad Gupta, who is the Head Media Entertainment India, Amazon Web Services, that is AWS. And then joining us virtually, we have Kishore, AK CTO, Z5, Startups OTT Metaverse, Z Entertainment Enterprise Limited, and Raja Raman Ramchandran, CTO, Khel Group. All of you, welcome to this discussion.
It's a pleasure.
So let's begin this conversation with you, Brijneet. Can you share with us, okay, OTT platforms have seen a lot of acceptance and, we have seen a fast growth of OTT platforms over the past couple of years, especially post the pandemic. How can, the OTT platforms not only focus on delivering, great content solutions and also probably focus on delivering differentiated real-time customer experience, post this entire, acceptance of OTT has increased over the past few years?
Sure. I think for any platform, it's necessary to keep the user engaged, right? Whether it be a differentiated content which is there on your platform or any other means in which you can really engage with the user. A lot of OTT platforms are looking at differentiated content, whether it's building their originals or working with third parties wherein they get content from there. So that is obviously the first part of it. But the major part of engaging with the user is on social front. Okay, a lot of people are looking at engaging users so that they come, do watch parties wherein they can watch with their friends the same movie, as in they have an immersive experience wherein they can chat with their friends on about the same movie. They can chat with them or give emotional emojis in that sense, right? So a lot of this is working around that. That is one part of it, obviously the social, but also engaging with the users is letting them know that what content is coming up, what are the new movies or new originals which are coming up. The other part of it would also be the recommendations, right? Based on the user's choice of what he's seen and similar content which the other users are seeing. It is very imperative that the user recommendations are very powerful, because to show the users that other users are watching this, so you might also like it, is also a form of engagement, which keeps the users keep on binge watching or consuming content over and over again.
Yeah. And how do you see this scenario unfolding in the coming days with 5G coming in?
I think it's a great initiative, obviously 5G, but it's more about consumption, right? And consumption is about how fast you can consume content. Users wouldn't want to see the buffering icon coming on the player. So 5G, I guess, will help us over there a lot. Consumption will increase if the latency is lesser and the experience is much more smoother, right? If the obviously in OTT, it's always if the speed is not great, okay, it goes down to a lower bit rate, and you don't get that experience. When 5G comes in, you get a higher bit rate, you get a better experience. So obviously it impacts a lot.
Okay. My next question is to you, Kishore. The consumption of content on OTT platforms has not just increased in India but world over. So, what is the kind of tech that you are leveraging on, or cloud that you are leveraging on to improve your streaming capabilities on the platform?
Yeah, so in the last 5 to 6 months, actually, we are seeing unprecedented gains in terms of our international viewership, right? And previously, we were more focused on the Indian diaspora, especially after we released RRR on our platform. We are seeing a lot of interest from international audiences. So once we got these audiences on our platform, we needed to figure out how to keep them engaged on an ongoing basis, right? So we had to kind of relook at various aspects of our technology stack, from adding new subtitle languages, dubbing, multi-language support, right? The other important aspect, which one of the panel members said, is about recommendations, where previously our recommendations were more in line with Indian audiences. So now we had to kind of bring in local flavors into that recommendation, how to kind of adapt it for international audiences, right? So then the other thing we found is that in pockets in certain geographies, our CDN systems were not delivering good enough, right? So we kind of looked at ways in which we work with our CDN operators, and also we looked at building some AI-driven models with which we can kind of improve our delivery in these international geographies, right? So a combination of discovery, engagement for all these international audiences, that's what we have seen is working for us.
Over to you, Lokesh. There's an increase in demand for good quality content. So, how are you coping up with that demand of, quality content?
By creating it. That's the easiest answer. But honestly, it's not possible to create good content just on your own. You also have to partner with the independent studios, the content creators. As more and more content creation gets federated, that would be the right strategy to look forward to. For any platform, it is pretty much impossible for them to decide what works or not on their own. There are trends that are happening across industry that you don't actually see the right signals just on your platform. So getting that broader messaging of where the consumer interest is going to be, partnering with independent studios, independent content creators will be much more beneficial there.
And what is your outlook for what is about to happen in the next few months? Because we have seen a great transition over the past couple of years.
So there are three things I would say. Cord cutter concept is picking up, and it's getting more and more, what you would say, accepted in real time for people. No more consumption of TV as linear format that used to be for us. So we watch things when we want to watch, rather than when it is programmed to watch. So moving away from that programming concept altogether will make consumption a lot more, what you would say, involved with choices, what people want. Right now, between what is presented across 5 channels or 6 channels that you preferably watch, you flip across and you see, okay, which one of these may I want to watch now? Now that choice shifts significantly to, okay, what am I in mood to watch right now? It doesn't matter who's serving it. So discovery on a whole becomes a platform thing. That's the second bigger point that I'm coming to. All of us at OTT side make our own search engine experiences. We create, what you would say, layers for discovery, but a lot of data is coming in that is showing that the discovery is actually happening on the landing screen of the platform itself. Be it the mobile screen for them, or be it the TV experience, they're trying to become more and more agnostic of who's hosting content. The discovery needs to happen outside is gaining more and more traction. And lastly, the speed, the discovery experience, all of it is going to give people more immersive experiences. Higher quality on audio, higher quality on experience on HDR, on video. All of that is going to create an experience where people are going to be more and more looking forward to a theater-like experience right at home. Yeah. With the speed coming in, you can transmit data at very high rate now, especially for fixed lines right now. With 5G, probably with mobile devices, also the same thing will happen. And then whether you are commuting in your cab or you're commuting in your car, all of them becomes much more immersive experience. You put for your headphones and then you're like, I don't care what is happening in the world.
On that note, Manish, if you can share, how is technology ushering a rapid transformation in the media and entertainment sector?
So, as Brijneet and Lokesh and everyone else also mentioned, experience is the key in OTT platform, and experience starts from the first touch of your application or the content, which is when you are launching the application, right? So, when I am launching, if latencies are high and application is taking forever to load, bounce rates would be very high. Users would never come back because they have plenty of other options. And that's when you need to first make sure that your first interaction with the application is good. You are able to launch the application seamlessly, and then all other discovery components will kick in, whether it is a recommendation, search, or whatever. Now, after you are inside the application, there are multiple ways, at least I can tell how we are seeing different types of interactions happening. We have seen typically 3 types of interactions happening wherein the latency is playing very critical role. One is when we are launching any original shows, we are seeing the organic traffic, but multiple millions of people coming and watching the content. So, this is organic traffic which is scaling up gradually over a period of time. And when it is scaling, we want to ensure that the experience is seamless across all the devices, as device shift is very common, right? Nobody is watching it on a single device. Right. Whether I am watching it on mobile, whether I am watching it on a smart TV, tablet, or wherever, the experience and the content consumption experience is seamless. Yeah. So, that is where a lot of backend and I would say latency and front-end components play a critical role. The second is the spiky traffic. Spiky is in case of any live sport. When the match is starting, you see all the users coming at the same time to watch the match, and then they remain during the duration of the match.
Correct.
How to handle that spiky traffic across all the platforms. It is not specific to platform, right? We are platform agnostic. Users can come to any platform. How to handle that spiky traffic seamlessly across the platform, so that experience is not, I would say, degraded anywhere. Third is bursty traffic, which is very important in case of interactive game shows. In case of KBC Play Along, wherein we have seen that users hooked on to the application as soon as the KBC starts. But whenever there is a question published and the answer is given, that's the time when burst comes in for 10 seconds and then disappears, right? That's a different type of traffic, wherein we need to ensure that whenever that burst is coming, users are seamlessly able to answer. First, they are able to get the question simultaneously without any latency. And when they are answering, that answer is also seamlessly moving to the backend, so that user experience is not degraded. So, I would say, and in cloud native platforms like us, we started on the cloud. Capacity is not an issue, right? If there are users coming in, I can seamlessly spin off as many servers as we want. We are in the cloud and servers are no more a problem. The problem starts happening if I am not able to manage the latency. And in today's world, what we say that latency is the new outage, right? If I am not able to sort of manage the latency and latency starts increasing, though the application is practically not down, but people are not able to get the experience we wanted them to have. So, we need to make sure that latencies are well within the...
And what are the challenges over there? Because you cited 3 things, okay? First one of the things was, an example of the KBC Play Along, where a lot of people are putting in their answers. There are many other issues even with the live events when it comes to, when you're watching live sports. And the third one is across platforms, you need to give a seamless experience. But many a times it happens that you're moving from a TV to your phone, to your tablet, and you might be watching a series and it goes back to the beginning of the episode. So how do you fix those challenges? What is the solution there?
Yeah, so see, for the latency and the scale, we try to keep the database in the memory as much as we can, so that all the interactions are happening in the memory and we are not really going and picking up the data from the disk, which really helps us to make sure that we are offering the low latency. And that's where I think some of the in-memory databases are very handy. When it comes to the streaming experience, when the device shifts are happening and users are moving from one platform to other, since the streaming protocols are different on the platform, we want to make sure that we are transcoding the content into different formats which are available for the users to consume. Not only the formats, we want to make sure that we are transcoding the platform into the multiple bit rates.
Sure.
So that I can adopt to your changing bandwidth and I can move up and down into the bitrate ladder. And then based on your device compatibility, I start rendering the best bitrate compatible for your device at that very moment. And then based on your network, I move up and down. So that's how I think on the streaming and onto the data side we are trying to manage.
Okay. Now let's move over to gaming. My question to you, Abhishek, is we have seen over the past few years, gaming has seen a lot of boom, and Ludo kept us busy during the lockdown, in the first wave of the pandemic. So how is the gaming industry, leveraging the gaming cloud to offer a differentiated experience to the customer?
I think you are very right. We have seen a boom. I think we have seen a boom in gaming industry a lot, similar to the OTT platforms, what we have seen in the lockdown. But with gaming, I think it's like a 500% or like we can say 1000% growth in gaming things. But when we're talking about the cloud gaming, it's a different term for us because we are focusing more on mobile gaming right now. But like 5G coming in picture, like higher speeds in coming in picture, and higher end devices are not, like people are not purchasing higher end devices. They want higher end graphics games on their devices, but they don't want to spend a huge amount on that. So cloud gaming will help us, developers like us, to make cross-platform games. So what we'll do, like we are using higher end technologies, PCs at our end. We are making a particular game on what a particular PC, and with the help of the cloud gaming, user can switch from mobile to their PC and to their laptops and their tablets, and they can enjoy the seamless experience of particular high-end gaming on their device only. So for the gaming developers, it's I can say a huge opportunity to bank upon, because we don't have to develop the games for different other platforms, and we can tap on the different platforms users also to the mobile gaming, because now you are traveling and you wanted to play a console type game, like we can say a GTA 5 game, or you just wanted to experience your mobile game like Ludo on any other platform on your TV or something. So a cloud gaming can help us do that, and we just don't have to keep the servers big. As like if the demand is surging, we can like upscale our servers at that time and downscale at the same time. So for gaming, cloud gaming is I think the future for us, and we can tap all of the gamers, not just mobile gamers, which is around like we can say 2 billion mobile game users and 3 billion users, the gamers which are core gamers playing on PCs and PlayStations. So I think it's a future for us.
Moving over to Raja Raman, basis what Abhishek has said, how are you leveraging technology to offer an omni-channel experience, across platforms, when it comes to fantasy gaming?
It's not just about the fantasy gaming. In general, gaming has used to be very conservative in using the technology, which we are moving away. We are trying to scale up. We want to be in the technology explosion factor happening. It's no more technology evolution. We are into the phase of technology explosion. The best approach and what KL Group is looking at is leveraging the partnership. We want to encourage technology partnership, having the latest in mind, like cloud gaming. We really wanted the next level of like serverless gaming, so that the seamless experience can be given much sooner with very less time.
Okay. My next question to you, Sharad, how can the media and entertainment industry as a whole revamp its tech architecture using cloud to build and launch low latency, what we were discussing, low latency applications that enable glitch-free CX and rich media streaming?
So among multiple reasons why customers adopt cloud, the two prominent ones for which media and entertainment customers look at cloud is, one is the scale part, like Manish mentioned, that there is a surge that comes, let's say, at the time of start of a sports, live sports, or there is a new show that comes where people see consumption going high, let's say for a show like Maharani or somebody, or it could be, let's say, for a KBC kind of a game where the spike is there. So cloud provides you, one of the reasons for this thing is scalability, because cloud provides you the ability to go from, let's say, take your app from pilot phase with a few hundred users to maybe scale to the concurrency of millions of users. So that is one reason for cloud. The second reason why media customers look for at cloud is maybe to deliver the differentiated user experience. And when we talk of delivering a differentiated user experience, that has a multifaceted approach. It could be through personalization, it could be through recommendation, it could be, let's say, in terms of offering new product services, or it could be with respect to delivering a smooth streaming experience. Now, when it comes to smooth streaming experiences, there are, let's say, primarily two parts to this puzzle. One part is, how am I delivering the content to the end consumer? So delivering the content to the end consumer is a solved problem. We have CDN networks which are pretty powerful, which can reduce your buffering and all those kind of things. And the second part is, how is my application responding to those changes? The latency on the application part. Like one of the panel members mentioned, that the first touch point for a consumer is how my application is loading, how much time is it taking to load, how my APIs are performing. Because if my application is taking forever to load, probably I won't even go to that application again. So maybe having the right technology to ensure that all that end-to-end latency or the user experience is good, that is where cloud is maybe playing a pivotal role. There are multiple ways by which we are solving this problem, or cloud is solving this problem. It is maybe ranging from having a purpose-built databases like in-memory databases or NoSQL databases or graph databases that customers are leveraging for various use cases. In-memory databases are something that customers are adopting more and more to ensure that the latency or the user interaction, the latency amongst user interaction, or the way application is performing is minimized. So multiple ways where cloud is kind of powering that.
Okay, Dishank, let's speak about content personalization. How do you make that happen, and how does it help in customer retention?
I think that's a great question. So let's start with why personalization is important. Today the India media entertainment industry is not a David versus Goliath story. It's a battlefield of 5 or even 7 Goliaths. I mean, just take one look at the industry and the service providers. There's Walt Disney, Sony Pictures, Z5, Viacom 18, Paramount Pictures, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV. These are huge players globally. They have huge war chests, and they're all going after the same market. And no wonder why they're going after the India market, right? India is the world's largest marketplace for OTT. There is an estimate that we have 800 million subscribers by 2030. So it's essentially a race to customer acquisition that we are all in, right? Now, I think Manish said a few minutes back, what drives customer acquisition, right? There are largely sort of two parameters. One is the customer experience, and the second is the content itself, right? So content-led growth. I'll give you a quick example, a personal example. About 9 p.m. every day, I tune in for my dose of entertainment. I end up spending 15-20 minutes flipping between, and in no particular order, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Sony, Z5, Voot, YouTube, everywhere. What I'm trying to do is find what do I want to watch, because I don't know it. I just want to discover it. So how good would it be if our OTT platforms were a little more intuitive and they were able to recommend to me what's the nature of content that I'd like, right? That's where Redis comes into the picture. So some of the leading media entertainment companies in India are using Redis's online feature store to store user attributes such as demographics, search history, watch history, and other such attributes to determine what's the nature of content this individual is most likely to watch.
But this is across platforms?
This is with some platforms, and some platforms are further ahead than the others, but they're all obviously looking to do this. And why are they doing this? Because as you personalize, you're able to increase consumption. And as you increase consumption, you're able to increase retention, and then you can have new customer acquisition. I'll give you another quick example, if you allow me. So about 50% of all OTT revenue ideally is targeted from advertising, right? But if you think about a marketer, how many options do they have? They have the option to spend their money on Google Ads, they have the option to spend that money on YouTube, right? And generally they go that way. Why? Because they find that they get a better ROI for their ad spend. So if you bring personalization into advertising on OTT, and again by using Redis such as the feature stores and seeing what you've watched historically, what are your interests, etc. So if you're able to increase the ad relevance for the end customer, now all of a sudden you can charge a higher premium as an OTT platform for the advertising service that you're offering. So yeah, those are different ways, and that's the way you can drive both not just end user customer acquisition, but also the enterprise side of the customer acquisition, where you want Apple to spend say $10 million with you because they're advertising with you, right? So there are those two elements of customers.
Yeah. And how do you enable that, Jitendra?
So, as Manish said, like, latency is the new outage. So we want to make sure there's no latency. And everybody knows that, okay, to go to that certain latency level, you need more availability, which followed by the cost. So more availability you want, the more costly it becomes. So what we are doing is we are making sure you are more available, plus you are not burning your pockets. And for that, we have a couple of good features, you can call that, or making lifesaver for you guys, is like HA, which is high availability. So we have certain standards, certain severity with stalls, which means from process failure to your node failure to your maybe region failure, and if you are in active, maybe the complete cloud failure, you can withstand that. Number one. Second, dynamic pricing. As Mani said, there's a buzz coming up, or maybe out of 24 hours, the peak is maybe 4 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours. And these days, DevOps they scale up and they forgot to scale down because they are not aware that when they do the same exercise again. So with the dynamic pricing, with the help of all those orchestration layer and the automation that we provide, they can go to that 4 hours window and say, okay, this is my peak, I want this configuration, and after that 4 hours scale down so that you are not once again burning your pocket. Third one is multi-tenant, and that's the game changer. So we are in the world of polyglot technology, which means every different API requires a different kind of data structure. And that's a pain for operational team to manage, as well as the DevOps teams, because there's an isolation in both of them. Maybe there's a graph team who require or work on graph. There is a maybe search team who require just search APIs. So consolidating each and everything, it is, at this moment, time to the market matters most. So if you are good, you are consolidating great, and your time to the market exact, you are getting more and more customers, right? So with the help of this multi-tenancy, instead of having multiple technologies and working with the separately in isolation, we can have this multi-model. So which means on a same cluster, different databases, isolation of the resources, just do your work.
Great thought. Manish, over to you. At a point in time, an application caters to millions of consumers, and in such a scenario, how does a millisecond response matter? What difference does it make?
So as I was saying, that latency is very important, and I can relate it in case of our interactivity show Play Along, KBC Play Along, wherein a user comes to watch Play Along and wants to play with the game show which is going on the TV, right? Correct. Now, if I am not able to publish the question to all the users who are connected to play almost at the same time, then the experience is lost. Something is already, the question is already announced there and he is not able to see it on his device. And after some time he is watching it on the device, and when he actually wants to answer, by the time is already over. Right? So latency plays a very critical role, wherein I want to make sure that it is almost in sync, and interactivity, what I want the users to do with the application along with the live game show, that is there. That is one. The second is in case of very high concurrency systems, wherein millions of users are coming and hitting my platform, for a normal user point of view, if I am, let's say, my APIs are giving 10 milliseconds of latency. To offer a 10 milliseconds of latency, I need to have n number of servers. Now my latency has increased from 10 to 15. From the user point of view, there is no perceptual difference in terms of the performance on the application side, whereas my performance has degraded by 50%. I need to have those many extra servers to cater to the same requirement, which is going to adversely impact to my budgets, my cloud spends and everything. So if I am not able to manage the latency, whether it is 5 milliseconds, 2 milliseconds, 3 milliseconds, it impacts the experience in all the ways. It impacts monetarily to us, it impacts the user from the interactivity experience point of view. And when it comes to the live streaming, in the live streaming, when I am watching the live sports, if my latency is more, when I am talking latency here, latency is in two forms. One is to deliver the live stream which is almost in sync with the broadcast, so that I am not introducing extra latency and I am able to enjoy the live sport game as it happens. And second, latency to deliver the content, wherein the CDN helps us, so that I am delivering my content from the closest POP available to the user, and I am delivering as quickly as possible, so that my startup time is not very high, it's as low as possible. I am not rebuffering. And these are the two key metrics which we have seen, that if the startup times are high, if the rebuffering is high, the user bounce rate is very high, because they immediately don't get that experience and they tend to move out of the application. So yeah.
Brijneet, your thoughts?
Yeah, I completely agree with Manish on that. There are various studies out there that the average attention span of a user on the internet is anything between 2 to 5 seconds, right? And starting from opening up the application, loading of all the APIs and the images, and then clicking and going to see a particular content, it has to happen within that time, right? And most of all, when I click on an asset so that my video plays, it has to happen within 2 seconds. If you go beyond 2 seconds, the user will not wait. As I mentioned earlier, no user would want to see a buffering icon. He'll not wait for it. He'll just close, and there are multiple options available for him in the market to go to multiple OTT apps. So the crux of it is that how do I get my user from opening up the application to viewing the content within 5 to 10 seconds.
Correct.
Right, going through clicking on the option which he really wants, showing that option upfront, clicking on it, and then going to the video, playing the video over there. So that entire journey really needs to be smooth and very fast.
Yeah. So clearly it has become a milliseconds game. Lokesh, your thoughts on this?
Pretty much a quantifiable state. So I come from different verticals. I've looked at e-com, payments, food. So I could perceptibly tell if a second or delay in a transaction happens. There's a perceptible number difference in transactions going through. Second probably will impact 20 odd percentage in case of larger e-coms. So you see the right impact there. And OTT is even more what you would say demanding, because people are like, show me stuff as I click. There is no intent to wait for it anymore. Like the moment I click, the play should start. If it is not happening, this is your fault. I may be on patchy network, but I will keep claiming on reviews that your app is not good.
Okay, over to you, Kishore. As an OTT platform, what is your work towards reducing latency and enabling a seamless high definition content experience to your consumers?
Yeah, so I think like some people already told, most of the discovery today happens outside our platform, right? And like I think somebody already mentioned, a lot of this discovery happens over social media platforms where they find a link and they come to our platform, or serendipitously they search and they land up on our platform, or like some appointment viewing use case where people turn on their television and they're flipping through various OTT apps, right? And like somebody already mentioned, we are living an attention economy where we get a few seconds, at best case a few minutes from the user, right? And how we kind of capitalize on that and deliver surface the most relevant content for our customer, give him the best experience, right? Like the app load times, etc. Don't disappoint them with anything, right? So a combination of that kind of delivers for us, right? Our video startup times, buffering, all of that come into play, right? And largely, if you see now with the large cloud operators and the CDN systems, etc., it's become a more level playing field, right? So most of the OTT players have access to this. And in terms of best practices of like ABR, etc., I'm saying like it's more table stakes at this point, right? So now, to some extent, how well we capitalize on that few seconds or a minute the customer has given us in terms of our recommendation search algorithms, right? Like, and that is where I think systems like Redis, etc., play a large role, where dynamically based on the customer intent, right? At that moment, he wants to watch a particular genre of movie, or somebody in the house has particularly turned on the television. Try to understanding that intent and recalibrating your rails that you pop up on your home screen, the recommendations that you show, right? And dynamically the associated videos, what other people watch, all of that, how you kind of bring it up. While we run very fancy deep learning type models, I'm saying how fast you can run them using these in-memory systems, etc., makes a lot of difference. And like somebody said, clear difference in what kind of revenues we make, right? And so what we do is we benchmark our recommendations, our ads, all of them based on the CTRs they deliver, the average watch times they deliver, etc., and we keep tweaking our algorithms. And this is a slow process, but I'm saying like consistently over months we are seeing a lot of good results coming in.
Yeah, someone also made a point that most of the consumers have become platform agnostic, but isn't that worrisome for you guys? You know, I would like to hear your thoughts, Manish, Brijneet, and Kishore, on this point.
So when we are saying platform agnostic, we're talking about the device. It is the device device agnostic.
Yeah, but many a times, you know, much of the content is across several platforms. So even that is applicable, you know, as a question as well.
And that's the choice of the user. You really can't.
Yeah, but it's a worrisome trend. So how do you ensure that the user sticks with your platform in that situation?
That is where I think the experience plays a very key role in the discovery of the content, and not only discovery of the latest content, which I know. For example, if I'm coming at 9 o'clock prime time, as Deshank mentioned, I know what I want to watch. Now, after that, what next for me? If I am not able to understand your behavior well, and if I am not able to show something which might be of interest, could be a long tail content, and that's where I think recommendation plays a very critical role. For any live sporting event, for any primetime show, I know that why I am coming to the application and I am going to watch it. Once I am having the user inside my application, how I am going to keep that user engaged? Whether I create the interactivity for him so that he can interact with the application, or I create the recommended content for him which probably can help him to consume more. These kind of experiences will enable users to consume more onto the platform, and that's how we try to. So we have built our own internal recommendation systems, and as Kishore was mentioning, that's the iterative process. You need to keep on learning. Your algorithm needs to keep on learning over a period of time. It collects more data. You become more intelligent. You recommend better content, better CTRs that feeds back into the system, and then you keep on learning and keep on improving, and that's a process we keep on sort of.
Abhishek, my next question is to you. Even the gaming space has become extremely... Yes.
Just to add on that, I'm saying in the M&A industry, typically content is king, right? But when the same content is available on multiple platforms...
At the same time, that too at the same time.
Yes, I'm saying it gives an opportunity for technologists in the room to actually differentiate their experience, right? Like if the same movie was available on two platforms, you knew it, you still have a particular platform that you choose over the other, right? And I think that's where maybe the platform experience, the product experience, the user experience, everything comes together. And there is a definite choice, a pecking order in every consumer's mind on which platform is preferred for them, right? So I think that's the coveted place which all the OTT players would want to kind of occupy.
Content is the king. I'll just extend that to say context is the queen. So if you are showing the right recommendation in the right context, I think you are done.
So content is the king, context is the queen. Okay, over to you, Abhishek. You know, even the gaming space. So we discussed how OTT you know, space has become so competitive, but even the gaming space has become as competitive. So in that scenario, would you like to share your thoughts on how do you know, beat the competition?
Gaming is the most competitive market. Like in OTT platforms, you have 8 or 7 giants you can count on. But in gaming, I think the content of gaming is the king. They have no giants. If you have a good game, you have a good idea, I think you can go out and like have your game on Play Store, App Store, or even host your own website for that. And content has becoming the king in gaming. Sure, it is the most competitive market, I'll say, and you have to provide users with as much as good game. And as Kishore also mentioned, that the data that you are giving, the recommendations you are giving to your users, it depends a lot. So we want users to engage with the game and retain also, because as it's getting more and more competitive, and the user acquisition cost is increasing for the gaming market. So we are getting users on a very high cost, and we want your users to retain in our game. So they retain, so we can have the higher LTVs with them, and even with lifetime values will increase when they retain, and we wanted to give the engage also with our game. Suppose a user is playing in our game and he is getting a latency, as you mentioned. So he straight away will uninstall the game, because he have a lots of choice playing the same game, because there are lots of providers. There are international providers. In the country also have a certain major providers of a particular game. So I'll say the competitiveness is there in the gaming market, and we have to provide the quality content with lower latencies and the recommendations. Because we are also learning from data, and we say in gaming that data is king. So we keep a track of users each click, and we see how we can monetize from that particular users. If a user is stuck on particular level, or if a user is not playing a particular level, why user is not is playing that particular level, why users are churning at that particular level. And if user is getting stuck on a particular level, we'll provide them certain videos, rewarded videos to watch, and they can skip that particular level. And if we see that user behavior is like they tend to buy something in the game, we'll be providing them with the in-game offers which is made for that particular users. So in that way we can like survive in this competitive market of gaming, because now still we have like time, we will be coming out with gaming giants, and I think Gameshin will become one gaming giant.
So here content is king and context is queen. So data is king and you have a queen as well in gaming.
So content is the queen and data is the king for now for us.
Okay.
But gamers have a different point of view. But in gaming now, we want players to become gamers. Okay, so you must be carrying a mobile. You are not a gamer, but we want as casual gaming is coming into the picture now, with players playing Ludo King, games like Carom King, Ludo King. They wanted to play the games, but you cannot say they are the gamers. So we want data to be the king here, and content is always be the best part of gaming, because if your content is not good, your users or your players or your gamers will not play the game.
Yeah, also Abhishek, and this is also to Raja Raman, this next question. In gaming, as compared to like OTT, the interaction of the consumer is much higher. Like, OTT, you put something on and, you just simply watch it till you have to take an action. KBC play along is like a different case, but mostly you just put it on and, you just watch the content. And here, the consumer is interacting with the game all along. So how do you tackle the latency issues over there? What is the solution? How do you do that? Both of you can answer actually this question.
I think for us, latency is the worst enemy for our game. Yeah. Because as mentioned, if we are acquiring a user and user is just churning out because the game has a latency of a millisecond also, user rolls a dice, or a user is playing with their friend and they see the latency, they will definitely churn out and they will install a different game. And you mentioned right that now the gaming has become a social platform. Like users are moving towards gaming to interact with their friends. They wanted to play game and to interact with their friends. And sooner they see the latencies in the game, they churn out. So what we are using, we are using auto scaling. We don't want a millisecond of delay. As Kishore mentioned, there is a part, as in OTT also, you are auto scaling, and we also wanted to, we have built in such a way, if there is a surge coming on a particular time, because as people have a way, they're coming back to a game playing at 9 p.m. We have seen the same surge at 10 p.m. People come back from their work. They used to play a game in like Ludo. They wanted to play with their family. They wanted to sit after dinner. They wanted to play with their grandparents. Kids are playing with the grandparents. So there is a surge at that particular time at 10. So at that particular surge time, we have like we have made our servers in that way that they can auto scale up at a particular time, and they can scale down when they are not in use, at it like in 5 a.m. in the morning where the users are not there. So yes, so latency is the worst enemy for the gaming. I can say 1 millisecond of the latency is not, we cannot have 1 millisecond of the latency.
Yeah, Rajaraman, your thoughts on this?
Yep, I'll add on to that, right? Gamers are already started experiencing and expecting a real life experience, right? And they really want not just the game, the value add-ons. There are three parts right now. The latency is becoming very critical. The game itself and the value adds like in-game chats. And the third important piece for us is analytics. Analytics, if you say content is the king, context is the queen, analytics really the ace. The more and more information we get, we are going to expect the player, whatever the next steps, we really want them to give a better experience, and latency is playing very, very critical for us, right? To base up, now with 5G coming on board, leveraging 5G is becoming an important deal for any gamer, right? Any gaming company, anybody. Also, the CDNs which we started using, we did more than the CDN now. We really need more better edge location. And companies, AWS, start giving local zones, the wavelength zones, but we are yet to see that in India. We just started a local zone in Delhi now, but those are really going to be the game changer for the experience, giving great experience for the gamers in India. We especially metaverse coming in, right? The expectation is going to be multifold.
Dishank, we have discussed latency, at length by now. How are you providing this ultra-fast performance without latency? By providing, this sub-millisecond response time through in-memory and flexible data stores. If you can share more details on that.
Well, in one line, Redis is the world's fastest database, right? Why so? It's entirely in memory. In-memory databases are always faster than the ones on disk. So that's one. But latency cannot be spoken of in isolation. It has to be spoken of in relation to scale. There's a difference in latency of say 1 millisecond at 10,000 users and 1 millisecond at 200 million users, right? That's where Redis Enterprise comes in. So what we have done is we've created an entirely a managed service which is cloud agnostic, which is linearly scalable. So you can go from as low as 10,000 users to 2 million users, pay for them on an hourly basis like we were discussing. But it's the in-memory element of it which drives ultra low latency. But the crux of all of this, why would one want to use Redis Enterprise, is where do we rather have our developers spend their time? Managing infrastructure, worrying about how many nodes do we have, managing, oh my God, is my service going to be available tomorrow if we hit the scale, or just to develop the next generation of industry-leading features and capabilities which drive them to the business objectives they want. So I think that's that, but I'll really hand it off to Jitendra to talk a little bit about how our platform really achieves it.
Yeah, and if you can also share some use cases.
Absolutely. So as I was mentioning, we start with latency, right? So the next big thing is okay, how do we automate these things? I mean, it's one thing to say, okay, yes, the platform is available. Okay, I want to automate it. Okay, what are the things which are available? Second, if we once again put this on developers, there's no point of having a managed service, right? So we want to make sure that whenever a developer say, I'm hitting maybe 100,000 ops per second, and now the next peak is maybe 1 million ops per second, this needs to happen from the codes itself. So with the help of this automation orchestration engine like Terraforms, cloud APIs, and each and everything is well integrated. So which means the one API call can make sure that you are going from 10,000 to 1 million without worrying about how the user experience is going to be. And everything happens on the fly, which means there's no downtime required. Nothing needs to happen from the operation team to the provider team to the partner team, the developer in one click, and that's it.
Okay. Over to you, Sharad. How does Redis on AWS enable the sector to explore and build new capabilities?
So one of the things which I was mentioning earlier, that there are multiple reasons why many customers adopt cloud. One of them is because cloud takes away the undifferentiated heavy lifting. And one of the points that Dishank just mentioned is improving developer productivity. So with improving developer productivity, what we are doing is we are giving them time to focus on something which is more productive, something which means more things to the business. In terms of what Redis on AWS is doing is, apart for improving the user experience through latencies, through powering some of the platform capabilities like personalization, recommendation, we are also seeing some sort of adjacency to M&E segment. So we see M&E customers moving towards, let's say, gaming. We see M&E customers getting into live sports streaming or esports. We see M&E customers now getting into social networking sites with having platforms, let's say, like maybe Takatak or Hippie and multiple others. So obviously, what we are seeing as holistic is it is not just the core OTT platform, but it is powering the adjacent use cases as well. It is kind of helping them monetize by showing personalized ad. And again, something that Dishank mentioned, that it is not just that I am showing a personalized ad to a user, but I am also able to charge a higher rates from my advertisers, so helping the enterprise side of things. So this is where I see how Redis on AWS is kind of powering new set of use cases, helping monetization.
Okay, so finally, before we move from each one of you, I would like to understand what will be the future projections for your business. Let's begin with you, Manish. In the next 2 to 3 years, how do you see the platform evolve?
So the key focus is going to be on the consumer experience for sure. Original content production definitely is the key, and we have recently, I think a couple of years back, relaunched our application, and you would have seen that the content offering, the shows like Scam, Maharani, Rocket Boys, we are producing one of the finest shows, original shows. The content production is continue to be there on the platform. Technology wise, streaming experience offering Dolby Atmos, Dolby Digital, 4K content is on the cards. We'll be offering the best consumer experience when it comes to either the content quality or the audio quality, which is already seen. We have started offering sports content in 60 FPS frames per second. You can see the difference when you're watching a 30 FPS sports content wherein there is a lag when the users are moving or when they are bowling. We have migrated all the sports content to 60 FPS, and you can see the difference in the sharpness. So I think experience is going to play a key role, more from the content, from application, technology. Content discovery is going to be at the center. We are working extensively on the recommendation. And all these things will stem out of how well we are able to analyze our data. So we have the data pipelines created. We are monitoring all the quality of service parameters, which is defining that which content quality should be rendered for this user, which network should be rendered. So I think at multiple places we are introducing intelligence into each and every component, and which is going to be going forward also going to be like that.
Rajneet, your thoughts?
Yeah,
how do you see YCOM 18 evolve?
Sure. I think 3 major factors to it. First is obviously experience. The next would be discovery, and the third would be availability. Right? Experience in terms of what kind of content you're providing to the user, experience in terms of what kind of experience you're giving to the user, both in terms of the application, loading of the application, loading of the content. Everything counts, even the smaller bits. Okay, that is one. The coming to discovery, obviously there are multiple parts of it, right? Even if your content is great, but if your user doesn't know the content is there on your platform, as you mentioned, the same content is on multiple platforms. If he doesn't know the content is there on your platform, it does not make sense for the user to come back, right? So discovery is a major thing. The third point is availability, right? Both being available always. OTT or technology can never sleep, right? That is one thing. There cannot be disruptions. Besides that, you need to be available on all platforms, right? You cannot say that I am available on one of the large screens but not the other one. Okay, so you have to be available across so that every user can see your content on any platform. Just like you said that I'm watching on one platform, then the same content tomorrow I want to watch on the next platform. Today mobile, tomorrow TV. Then it should start from the same
Place
space.
where I stopped.
Exactly. So all these small things count a lot. I've seen users who have chosen one platform over the other for the same content because the experience is not that great, right? The smaller things count. So we're looking at all aspects of it. I mentioned social engagement as well. So that is one aspect we are looking at. We've ventured into sports as well. We're doing FIFA World Cup. We're doing IPL next year. So these things, obviously, cricket being the religion in India, you cannot really mess up with anybody's religion. Yeah. So you need to give that experience to the user.
Yeah. Lokesh, any innovations that you would like to focus on in the coming days?
कुछ बचा नहीं है. They've covered everything, to be honest with you. But realistically, all of us strive to make the experience at the user's part painless. Right now, the problem of discovery and discovery fatigue is probably hurting everybody on this, what you would say, OTT side. It's great when user has to, select a marquee event, probably wanting to watch a match or a specific show. But apart from it, it is difficult. I mean, spending 10 minutes just to figure out what to watch, it's not optimal, and that's also creating a lot of cognitive overhead for users, and they're dropping off. And especially the older generation, they feel it's too cumbersome to watch things in comparison to what they have been doing is just switch on, click a channel and be done with it. So we have to strive to reach that level of comfort, that discovery in itself, from whatever means possible, be it from the platform side, be it from the social aspect, leads to an outcome of no fatigue. The experience of playing things needs to be seamless, as everybody said. I mean, this is a given for. We need to counter latency, we need to counter the aspect of concurrency. But yeah, I believe from my perspective that discovery fatigue is one of the bigger challenges that needs to be solved, and we need to solve it by both technology as well as design choices.
That's a good thought. Your thoughts on this, Kishore, and how do you see the future of ZEE5?
Yeah, I think like Lokesh said, most has already been covered. Few additional things we are looking at are the digitization or cloudification of our entire content supply chain, right? Where we are looking at moving all our post-production ops, everything on the cloud. And when we are moving, while we are starting with a lift and shift type approach, we are looking at rebuilding all those components cloud natively, right? And unlock the value of cloud, the data that gets collected across the supply chain, how we can leverage, build a system of records, system of insights, and unlock value on top of that. We're also trying to see how we can tap into this whole creator economy, bring in short form content, etc., and improve engagement on the app, right? And see, once we have kind of spent money acquiring a customer, we are looking at various ways in which we can improve the lifetime value, right? Where one aspect is we are sitting on about 25 petabytes of content, how we can kind of re-energize some of that older content using maybe converting some of them into Dolby Atmos. I think recently Elton John launched his Rocket Man in Atmos, and I think he sold a huge number of copies again, right? So can we do something like that? Or we are experimenting with NFTs in our labs. We are looking at new immersive formats like Metaverse. And we are also trying to add new verticals, maybe to kind of expand time spent on the platform, the likes of gaming, or in the advertising side, we are trying to see if we can go further upstream in the value chain, add some kind of commerce elements in it, right? So a combination of that. Other than that, we are also very focused on the security, the content security, the user data security, privacy. We're trying to bake in elements so that privacy is by design, security is by design, right? And largely those kind of things. And also, we are also relooking at our overall tech stack from multi-cloud, so that if we have to rely on a DR strategy, how we can be ready with multiple clouds. Multi-CDN is already baked in, so a combination of that to build resilience of the platform. And you guys might have followed, we are getting back to sports now. So early next year, we'll start sports. So we have a lineup of sports events also coming on the platform.
That's good to know. Finally, to the gaming leaders, over to you, Rajaraman. I would like to understand your plans for the Khel group in the coming days.
We started redefining the entire stack now. We are working on solidifying a platform. Currently, it's not kind of completely scalable the way we want to cope up with the need. And we are trying to get tap up into the 5G world and the metaverse world. And we want to grow vertically as well as both horizontally across the board, going international. These are is the pipeline right now.
Okay, and Abhishek?
I think GameShin focus will be like next coming 2 years, like to acquire users from outside India and APAC regions, because we have seen like around 800 million downloads we have in our games, and most of like 90% comes from APAC region. So we wanted to tap the US markets, the European markets, and we wanted to grow in that particular field. Because we have seen the studios from outside India coming into India, and they wanted to leverage these users in terms of IAPs, and they wanted to earn revenue from them. So we wanted to be a Indian studio who can go out in European markets and US markets and grow in that front. And also we wanted to touch that 1 billion download figure with Ludo King. I think it will be possible in next coming 4 or 5 months.
Oh, all the best for that. And before we wrap, I would first like to thank all of you media and entertainment leaders for sharing how you are leveraging advanced tech solutions to eliminate latency and deliver seamless customer experience across platforms. It is going to be surely a more evolved industry and engaging times ahead for the media and entertainment sector.